days, and we're trying to find out if anybody does organic lawn care. And I would get a couple that say, well, we do this. And I would say, well, and I would get them to try to explain what it was they're spraying and why they're doing what they're doing. And they would just, you could just see them on the other side of the phone just throwing up their hands in frustration because they didn't really get it. They were told that this was what they should do, but they didn't really understand the process. And finally, one of them said, look, lady, if you want organic lawn care, you need to call Growing Green and ask for Tommy Cowett. He's the only one that knows what's going on. I mean, this is his competitors saying this, right? So I called Tommy, and we got on the phone for, I don't know, how long did we talk the first time? It was like an hour and a half, and I was so excited. It's like, oh my God, you gotta come talk to me, you know? So anyway, so Tommy's whole conversation was what you're gonna hear today, which is what is organics in the first place, and why does it matter, and why would you even want it for your lawn? And then at the end, kind of, what is it they actually spray on your lawn, you know, several times a year if you have a program. And so, anyway, it's fascinating, and he's got great products that he's going to tell you about too, that they use on the lawn. But I can tell you, you know, when you go from a chemically dependent lawn to an organic lawn, your soil has to take time to recover, right? Because it's sort of like if you were feeling good every day because you were taking uppers, you know, like speed or something like that, you'd feel good every day. That's kind of what your lawn is doing on chemical fertilizer, right? But if you're trying to feel good because you are just naturally healthy and you wake up feeling good every day because, you know, everything in your body is working, you know, that's what organic lawn care is like. And so, anyway, it takes a while to transition from chemical dependency to naturally being healthy. So, oh, come on in. Peggy was. I hear you're enjoying that. Come on in. We have cookies and there's peach tea and water. And
a raffle too, so
and a raffle. Put your name on every other line. Did everybody get your name on this notepad? Okay, all right. So every other line. And okay, so with that, I'm just going to let Tommy entertain us.
all right, hey, I'll try to entertain. I guess this is probably the third, fourth time we've assisted Ellen with this organic lawn care. And going back, I was always I have a master's degree in turf from NC State, and always did everything the chemical way. I worked for Syngenta, which is back in the days when they were receiving guy beef. And my dad was with guy beef for many, many years. So I was brought up in that synthetic farming techniques that people used to use as a result of the development of things like dynamite, TNT, then they started making fertilizer, urea, ammonium nitrate fertilizer types things. They're really, as it turns out, not good for your soil. It kills microorganisms. And really what happened to me, the big revelation about 10 years ago, I bought a bunny rabbit for my daughter. I like to tell the story because it's how I got into organic gardening. Was this bunny rabbit, Doug, who got his name because he was digging out from his cage, and this girl could no longer take it anymore and she was looking for a home, so he was a rescue. I brought him home and my daughter and I made a cage for him. It's a condo. I still have the bunny. And she's leaving to go to Shenandoah University next week, her freshman year. And I was hoping she might take the bunny with her. But anyway, all this poop that I was getting from Doug, and it was just ridiculous how much you would get. I'm like, throwing it away, just constantly throwing this bunny manure away in trash. I'm like, man, this stuff has got to have a value. So I did a little investigation and found out a little bit more about composting. I was never good at composting. My mom here, Val, well, we used to live on New Garden Road, the 5-acre estate there. We had a huge garden growing up. Of course, my dad did everything with 10, 10, 10, 8, 8, 8. We had DDT. We had diazinon and all the chlorine, all that nasty stuff around the house. Anyway, well, my mom and I would collect kitchen scraps and things like that and throw them in a pile up by the woodshed. It'd sit there stinking, would never really amount to anything. It was just eggshells were in it. It looked like trash. So I didn't understand. We needed the green, yeah, kitchen scraps and those types of things. But you also need a brown source, a carbon source, like leaves. So with Doug, I came to the realization he was the green. And I'm sure you guys have probably done a course on composting and how to compost.
We haven't yet, so you can talk about that. Well,
So,
we will be talking about it.
In making your own compost, you know, I had the green from Doug. All I needed was leaves. So I'd go out and collect in my truck. I'd pick up bags and bags of leaf bags off where people raked them and put them out by the road. I was just collecting leaves like crazy. I made about 4 cubic yards of this wonderful compost for my raised beds. I do all my gardening in raised beds. And, or I do now. I didn't then. I used to garden in soil, and I would end up with, oh God, all kinds of leaf spots and tomato blossom and rot. All these problems. But after I started doing raised beds in compost soil, problems went away. Plants were healthier. It was all about this organic thing called microorganisms and microbiology in the soil that was actually feeding the plants. And I learned a lot more about it just from that whole revelation. I took a job with a company called Arctech that makes Actazol, which is a humic acid product. Now, humic acid, in the outline you can see some of these products. You know, this is just mulch. This is just typical ground up bark, leaves, whatever this is. This isn't even humus. This is just mulch right now. If you take that down, and you can buy that in bags from soil conditioner from Home Depot, Lowe's. The next step is getting to a finer compost. And we use a lot of this at GrowinGreen. It's McGill compost. It's very well made. South Hill, it's out of kind of close to Raleigh. And this is one that's a little more chunky. I'll pass this around and you can see the difference in this. Then they refine it a little bit more, and you pay a little bit more for this one. This is sports turf. This is really for athletic fields, so you're not leaving a bunch of chunk around. It costs a little bit more. What I'm getting at is trying to get down to the molecular level here. This is called Leonardite. This is a mined material. This is pretty much a fossilized plant material for millions of years, and it's only really, you only find this in certain parts. Like New Mexico is one area they got it, and they'll just take truckloads for going and actually mine this stuff. And it's called Leonardite, and it is so old, it's like a, it's black as coal. Pass this around. From this, you can actually extract humic acid. And what they do is take sodium hydroxide, mix it with the Leonardite, bring the pH really, really high, and then they get this molecular stuff called humic acid, which is the building block of all life in the soil. Humic acid is. This is Actazol. If you want to pull off the label, actually flip it, and you'll see, if you can see that, it just popped. It has an effervescence kind of thing to it, and it's extremely powerful. I like to describe this, when you apply this to the lawn or to plants and the soil, it's almost like hitting the soil with a lightning bolt. It's a charge. This is a highly negative charged product. And that's why we see these responses after we apply this stuff to lawns or even plants.
So Actazol is the brand name for
That's Actazol. Really, people have gotten away from Actazol because things are getting better and better. The only thing I can find at Home Depot and Lowe's that even comes close to some of this stuff is this Biotone. Some of this you guys have seen maybe Home Depot, Lowe's.
And that's why it's foam.
Yeah, this is biosponma, so some
Summer
of
has a whole line of organic
they do.
fertilizers and stuff, but
This is one particular product. It's so hard to find liquid humic acid containing products. You want the humic acid. That is the building block of all life in soil. Now, when you take the mulch and you turn it into compost and you run it through that, you're getting down to that level. You're getting down to the molecular level of these is humic acid. Getting that to go all the way to when it is completely finished. It's not compost anymore. Now it's atomic. It's really down to the molecular level. And that has that negative charge, which if you have different charges in the soil, right now there's no life in any of this brown, red clay. Everyone's going to have to build it back by mulching, planting plants. The plants give the microorganisms sugar, and in turn, the microorganisms give the plants nutrients from the soil. It's full of all kinds of great calcium, phosphorus, potassium. It's all bound up in that soil. Well, it takes the microorganism that is secreting these organic acids to solubilize all this stuff, and that way the plant can take it up. So if you can feed your microorganisms with stuff like this, this contains microorganisms. And when I say microorganisms, it's fungi, bacteria, there's amoebas, protozoans, beneficial nematodes. They're all microscopic. You want to build that biology in the soil. With Growing Green, that's why we call it a biologically based or enhanced turf grass program. And what makes it is this wonderful product called Organics. And we're going to raffle these off. These contain fertilizer. And I've given Ellen a jug of the refrigerated version too. These are not refrigerated. But Organics, when it first came out, the way I found out about them was it's a little story about some herbicide injury that we went through back in about 2011. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of it. There was a product called Imprellis from DuPont. It was a herbicide for broadleaf weeds in the lawn. And we sprayed about 3,000 lawns with it. Well, it was unstable. It was a bad herbicide. And it started killing trees. And we did a whole lot of damage. We lost a lot of customers who just put us on hold and said, you damaged our trees, until DuPont came up with the claims process. And that's where I came in to work for Growing Green, was to work on this claims process to help people get their, make them right, make them whole again, and fix this tree problem. I mean, it killed things like Norway spruces, Deodorus cedars, arborvitaes, Leland cypress hedges, all kinds of pine trees. If you had a pine tree in your yard and we applied the product to the lawn, it would have damaged it really bad. So going through the claims process and everything, I discovered this Organics wrote a white paper about how they can circumvent the damage by Imprellis. Bought a couple of cases from them, they shipped it down, and we started testing it. And sure enough, it helped to circumvent that issue. What had happened was the terminal buds on all these plants would distort. If you've seen herbicide injury, Ellen and I bought some bad compost from this place one time. It damaged our tomato plants because the horses that were eating a pasture that was sprayed with herbicides went through the horse into the compost. And then we tried to grow plants in the compost, and they shrivel. They just distort. It just turns terrible. But it really did work to fix this Imprellis problem. And Growing Green, we never looked back. After that, we started using it on all the trees and shrubs that we treat. We use it on lawns. It's the basis of our program. These guys have come a long way too. And there are other products out on the market we've been testing too. This is a great one called AMP. It contains humic acid and iron and things like that. It also contains the microorganisms, lots of different microorganisms. And you guys have there's a fact sheet in your pamphlet with the actual ingredient list of organics. Names all the different microorganisms that's in it. There's things in it like molasses and kelp and melaleuca, yucca extracts, plant exudates that they put into that product. And man, I tell you, we do mix it with a little urea fertilizer, but our lawns, it's not like Ellen was talking about how people would just nuke something with ammonium nitrate fertilizer.
20.
Yeah, you keep feeding it that and it becomes like a junkie. You know, I mean, it needs another hit. Where this way, you're actually building gluten in the soil, building an organic layer that is loaded with the microorganisms. They're sequestering nutrient from the atmosphere. There's rhizodium microorganism, that's a bacteria that sequesters nitrogen from the atmosphere, puts it right in the soil. So you end up with more nitrogen into the soil at the end of the year than you started with, just by using this, or that you even added. So you're actually getting free nitrogen from these products. And that's the way to feed a plant, not giving it a hit every time with the Miracle-Gro. There's no Miracle-Gro. If you put nitrogen on a plant, it's going to grow, but that's not necessarily a good thing because it can kill microorganisms in the soil. They don't like that. So the thing about microorganisms, microbiology in the soil is they don't like to dry out either. So moisture is important. It's good to keep everything wet. We all know that. We see what happens when we don't water plants. They tend to not make it if they're new. But basically, it's that organic method of lawn care where we're using these things and actually using Mother Nature. I mean, it's basic stuff that we're actually letting nature take over and do the work, not us. We're just assisting her, that's all. But we do tend to use some of the herbicides that you really need to use if you're going to keep your lawn weed-free. And we try to use, we test everything we use. We don't want this umbrellas thing to happen again. That was one big learning experience. Not only how to handle it, but how to fix it. And through that process with the umbrellas, we ended up fixing it. And really learning a lot about nature and how to do this correctly in harmony with nature and let, biology do all the work, do most of the work anyway. But if you guys have any questions at this point? Okay.
So you would never, I mean, that humeric, the closest thing to like an application, if you were just going to spray on your yard, is that stuff from the Home Depot?
Home Depot?
Yeah, that stuff that you passed around from Home Depot. I mean, you don't, yeah, that's.
Biochem?
Yeah, I mean, you could never in application, like, oh, my yard's looking a little sick, I think I want to treat it, with something to make it pop.
Exactly. These products will definitely make a big difference immediately in your lawn.
So that's stuff. But they don't
the
sell-
organics.
Organics you gotta get from you?
You have to buy it from a distributor who keeps refrigerated if you're using the refrigerated version. If you're using these, then you would just add it to your spray tank and apply it. We do everything pretty much liquid at this point. When we get into the fall of the year, we get into a feeding mode. No more herbicides. Because Growing Green, we do everything liquid at first during this weed stage, which is about from February through the end of August. It's a lot of weed control in lawns. And the main one you want to do is your pre-emergence in the spring for crabgrass. You just don't want crabgrass taking over because it will choke out your yard. And once you have crabgrass germinated in your yard, you can't get rid of it. There are products they say will kill crabgrass. They don't. It'll sit there looking uglier. It won't go away till it gets about 32 degrees freezes, then turns brown and dies, and takes a few months for it to rot.
So you refrigerate it to keep
Keep the microorganisms, yep, and they stay kind of like in suspended animation until we fill it, and each truck pours that, how much they need of that refrigerated product into the finished tank that's already been prepared for them. So every time a truck leaves the shop, it's got fresh organics. And it's, you know, I have people tell me, I've seen some companies who don't do it our way, they do it more synthetically. They'll show up in a neighborhood and stink the whole place up with herbicides. You can smell the 2,4-D. And it's nasty, and people don't like it. And ever since we've been using this organics, I've got people who say, man, when your guy was spraying the other day, it smelled sweet. He said it smelled like root beer or something coming out of there. I said, it is, that's molasses that's in the mix when you smell this stuff. Now, I can tell you, this one here, whoo, my God, this one's got like fish emulsion in it. And this thing stinks to high heaven, so we'll probably not use the amp. And I use it here and there to avoid discoloration or for spot spraying places. But man, this stuff, woo!
How long does it smell for?
It's just when you're spraying it,
Okay.
God, it's like, whoa.
Well, if you're using it in your vegetable bed or something, you can just mix it
In a gallon jug.
You just water it.
You can water this in with a watering can, a couple of teaspoons per gallon. It's on there. Whoever wins this can try it. It's great. This is great for your garden. All these are great for your garden. Or anything, all your plants.
So the beds are for the lawn as well?
The lawn, the beds, trees, shrubs, and I'll tell you another one I do a lot of, and been doing it to rescue trees. Like say an old oak tree might be showing some sign of wilt. We don't want to lose that tree, or an old maple. We'll take the organics and drench that tree with it. Like give it about 20 gallons of water with about 7 ounces per gallon of this, and those trees will recover. You're going to be inoculating those trees with mycorrhizal fungi, which is that is a fungi that forms a symbiosis with the root. Some of them live inside the root, some live on the outside, and they sequester nutrient and give it to the plant through the root. It's almost like a direct tube that goes directly into the root, and it can travel for miles. I believe mycorrhiza can spread out for miles as long as the soil is healthy, and sequester all this stuff through these tubes and deliver it to the plant. And the plant in turn gives it sugar. So it's a two-way street. You had a question.
I do. I wanted to see if you could simplify it and make it a little more practical for me, because I think what you're saying, I kind of get it, but it's a little, like, what would I want to do? So we did our soil sample, we sent it to the ag extension, we should add thus and such amount of lime. What does that have, or connect that for what you have been saying?
Perfect.
How does that fit?
Love it. You got your soil test back. You probably saw the CEC. That's probably the most important thing that was on there is the CEC.
Okay.
Next to pH, next to everything else. That it may have showed some recommendations of nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium found. They really can't detect nitrogen, but they know that what you're growing and what you said you want to grow needs and requires a certain amount per year. The CEC, if it's low, I mean, it'll show usually on that state check, low, adequate, high. Surplus, or whatever lab it came from. Something. The CEC is the cation exchange capacity. It's the ability of the soil to hold nutrient.
Okay.
If it has more organic matter, more of this, you have just working this into your soil, the more you get, the more organic, and it's always breaking down so you replenish, but it has more of an ability to hold nutrient with the higher cation exchange. Cation exchange is directly attributed to the amount of organic matter that's in that soil and its ability to hold nutrients. Because right now, we'd probably do a soil test out here on Ellen's red clay dirt and it'd be low. You know, you might be down about 7 here.
Right.
Go to a mulch bed or go to a part of the soil even where crabgrass is growing, it's going to be higher. Because you had a plant there that was living with microbiology and building that soil, that gluten level I was talking
Yeah,
about.
you'd love it to be around 20 or 25, so look at your soil test report. All the lime does is change the pH, and, which is very important because, again, if you have a neutral pH, more of those nutrients in the soil are going to be available to your plants. So the lime is real important because typically we have pretty acidic soil, and so things don't grow well because plants can't take up nutrients when the soil's too acid, all right? Or too alkaline, either way, you want it kind of neutral. So that's sort of one measure of healthy soils, what's your pH, and is it neutral or not. And then the other measure is this CEC, is a measure of organic matter and how much organic is in your soil that helps hold nutrients. And clay naturally holds a lot of nutrient too. So our clay soil, even that red clay, is going to have a higher CEC than sanded beach, right? Because I mean, the sand just flows through it, right? But the clay actually holds a lot of nutrients and it's actually a little more available to plants. And so we would start at about 7, we might be a minimum around here with CEC if you just got red, nasty dirt. But if you add organic matter to it and humic acid and stuff and those microorganisms, all of a sudden the nutrients that in that red clay are going to be much more available to the plants you're trying to grow.
So you would lime in addition to some of the things that you've been talking
No,
about?
not necessarily. Not unless it's calling for it.
Right.
Here's the thing. The microorganisms, the bacteria, all of this activity, the biology of the soil, if you can add some of these organic products to that soil, even molasses, get some blackstrap molasses and throw it out, you're going to feed microorganisms. Just blackstrap molasses by itself.
Are you saying black strap?
Any kind of molasses.
Molasses.
Stuff. Molasses is made from soybeans, some of them are
But
made
how would you
from...
apply it?
Oh, just liquid.
Diluted water.
Diluted with water.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And spray it out. I mean, this has molasses in it. But the microorganisms will adjust your pH to what it needs. It's Mother Nature working. If you get the biology going in the soil, really have good healthy biology, they do all the work for you. They'll adjust the pH by in ways that are kind of just Mother Nature. They're secreting these organic acids and they are solubilizing calcium. Calcium is lime. And that's going to adjust the pH a little bit. The key is to make it soluble. And the plant has to be able to take it up through the root system. That's where the microorganisms come in. Solubility. They help make everything so that the plant can take it up. And they're the ones responsible. It's not some guy with a hose spraying fertilizer. He's just helping to, adjust or add more. Because these products here, they collect the microorganisms from very healthy turfgrass. And I think some of the last times I would come to Ellen's class, we'd talk about making our own products like this, like EM1, which is effective microorganisms. That's where you make lactic acid bacteria from milk. And you basically make your own lactic acid bacteria that you can apply to your plants. Or there's another one called indigenous microorganisms, where you go and collect some soil from really healthy plants. And Ellen's house is great, always great to do it, because she has so many healthy plants. So you would go out to some healthy plants and collect that soil that contains microorganisms, and you grow them out on rice. And then you take that and mix it with molasses, and you have a product that will last forever. And if you want to check those out, I've got 2 videos on YouTube. You would just go to Tommy Cowett, EM1, and it's on your outline. And then there's another video called, it's my YouTube page, Indigenous Microorganisms, and I show how to make that with rice. These are old Korean farming techniques, where these whole villages of people, they still do it today. It's 2,000 years old. There's techniques where they, the whole village gets together and they take rice and they take other things like wheat or wheat meal, things that they're leftover shavings or chaffing, whatever, from a mill, where they're out there pounding, you know, grain, and then they'll have all the chaff left over, and they'll take that and grow microorganisms on it. Then they turn it into, mix it with water. They get like a pasty thing and mix it with water, and that's how they fertilize your land with these concoctions they make. They're just really making a culture, growing it out on something like wheat, meal, or they're growing and with molasses, sugar for a sugar source. And you can store this stuff forever in molasses. I mean, you can see how black. I opened this one up. I can pass this around to let you see what it smells like.
Tommy, if we were mixing that, like you had a jug of that, and you were mixing it to use it in your, say, your vegetable beds or your lawn, anything, how much would you use in a gallon of water, for example?
The rate really is anywhere between 3-7 ounces per gallon of water. 3 ounces per gallon. One capful is going to give you a little bit. You can't use too much. You really can't overdo it. I think to be sparingly about it, 7 ounces is what I like to use for rescuing big trees. Like from a drench, a big old oak tree that's kind of sick. And I just, it's a basal bark drench. I'll put 7 gallons of the organics to each gallon of water, and I've got a 2-gallon watering can.
You mean 7 ounces of...
7 ounces of this concentrate per gallon of water. And just drench that plant. Keep drenching it. And you're going to help restore the microbiology, especially the mycorrhizae, which are really good for trees. And you know, it works great. You can add a little bit of fertilizer too, because these contain fertilizers. Organics, the one Ellen's got, that does not. The one we run out on people's lawns and trees and shrubs, they don't contain fertilizer. But Organics, this company, and you've got their fact sheet and everything, has gotten a lot better about making formulations for homeowners, you know, and that already contain fertilizer, where we mix the fertilizer with that refrigerated version of the stuff.
So anybody can get access to this, or you
Oh, yeah.
have to know somebody that...
You can research it online, and there's distributors all over the place now.
And individuals can buy from the distributors?
Oh, you can buy it from distributors, absolutely. You can get it in 2.5 gallon jugs. You can probably buy it this way. They've got that one, remember Bloom? Did you use that one up? It was for flowers. It was specially formulated.
I don't remember how
I think it had a hose end sprayer attached to it where you'd hook it up to your garden hose. And the jug was actually like you've seen those things like a Miracle Grow garden sprayer.
I looked at it, I just couldn't know they had it. So, where I bought it though, was at that place near the Colfax Farmers Market.
Right, they're called Green Resource.
Green Resource.
Yep, that's one of the distributors. They have other distributors that carry this line too.
You don't know where around Greensboro though?
Green Resource is the best place to get it. I mean, they didn't have any distribution when we first discovered it. We ordered 2 cases direct from Organics and had that, and we started testing it. And next thing you know, we needed a distributor to fill our refrigerator, because they provide a refrigerator, a giant walk-in like refrigerator you'd see in a restaurant. And there's 2 300-gallon tanks of it in there, and it churns. It returns and it keeps cold.
Well, and I can tell you, I bought it Green Resources, the refrigerated kind of a long time ago, and it's so expensive because they have to refrigerate it. So it doesn't save you a lot, especially if you're trying to do your own lawn, it saves you nothing compared to having Tommy do it, because, you know, they have the giant refrigerators, they refrigerate all this stuff, you know, and so it's not a big deal for them. But, I mean, it's great though to have this to do your shrubs or your vegetable garden and stuff like that. And especially like here, you know, this is like the first year I put in my raised beds at this location. And I can tell you, no matter how much compost I added, you know, I had to add a lot because my soil was uneven and I had to even up my beds. And so I wanted to turn in more of the red clay into that compost than I was able to. And so there's microbes in that red clay. There's a lot of minerals that are not in compost. And so the combination is the best that you can do, is to combine them. And so, you know, I know that my vegetables are not as good, they're not growing as healthy as they will be when the microbes and the minerals from that red clay eventually will be combined better. And so I'm really excited to get some of Tommy's Organics because that will sort of inoculate what I've got and get more good microbes growing.
Yeah, they've actually collected them, and grown them out. So these are sort of like the superstars of microbiology in this jug, because they really have collected them from really great turf grass, and there's also a formulation for trees and shrubs specifically designed.
Yeah, and when you put this in your soil, it doesn't go away. It keeps growing.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's just like you're inoculating it. You know, these are the little microbes that are going to start multiplying in your garden as long as you have moisture and organic matter.
See, that was another question, how often do you do this?
Oh, we put it on the lawn every 45 days because that's how our schedule goes. If you're having, if we're doing tree and shrub things, we might use it quite a bit. Especially in the wintertime when we're fertilizing, it gets it. We put it on everything. Golf courses. A lot of golf course superintendents are using this stuff now for their greens. And they'll go every 10 days with it because they want to just keep on going. And it helps to reduce the thatch that they build up on those greens because those microorganisms are decaying a lot of this thatch that's in those greens and helping to sort of like liquid aerator in a way. And it's reducing the amount of thatch buildup in that soil. But there are other ways to do it. This one comes from Winston-Salem. It's a biosolid fertilizer. And it's municipal sewage sludge. Now, there's another product that's been famous for, and this is good for feeding the microorganisms, Milorganite.
Right.
That goes back to Milwaukee. This comes from Winston, and Winston-Salem, they sell it. They're getting rid of it. They have a great facility to make these beads, this aggregate. And they sell it in bulk bags to people, and some people make fertilizer out of it. All of our fertilizers that are granular that we're using contain this, biosolids. So you're getting an organic component to your fertilizer when you're doing granular, and you want that. Most of these fertilizers do contain, they'll cut it with this.
Where you use Organite has deer repellent.
I heard that. Does it work?
This do the same.
Yes, it's exactly the same thing.
Same thing.
Same exact stuff.
Yeah, and it's good to keep rabbits away too, like especially in the winter when you got your pansies out and they just mow them down.
What is that product you're doing?
Milorganite.
Milorganite.
You can get that at Home Depot and Lowe's.
Yeah, it's a natural fertilizer it's made from human waste, and so it has an odor, and that the deer and the rabbits don't like it. So, but it's fine. I think most of it's sterilized, so it's not going to have E. coli in it and all that stuff. You're fine using it.
Yeah, it's great stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll do that too. That's another great way to get, Milorganite's a great product to put out on your lawn anytime. It's going to help build that microbiology up. Anything you can do, in the fall when you're getting ready to seed, if you have, adding something like this, just regular old soil conditioner. Every time I plant a shrub or a tree, I'll put a lot of this in. This is just soil conditioner. This is probably the orange and white bag one you get at Home Depot.
Yeah, it's just final shredded bark, and so when you're planting something, you mix some of that in. It helps create more pore space or air space in your soil, Because, again, those little spaces give you tunnels where your plant roots can grow, so it helps your plant get established.
And even with the lawn, if you've got like bare areas in your lawn and you're gonna have an aeration done, or just take some of this and put it over those heavy clay compacted soil, there's no microorganisms there. If it's just like that out there, red clay, and you see it bare ground, there's nothing there. You need to build the biology. So put something on it to cover it. Even if it's pine needles, anything. Just don't keep the soil exposed like that.
Yeah.
And plant some grass seed. And I like working this in. We have 4 soils on people's property. We like to take a bunch of this, put it out about a ½ inch before aerating, and then aerate it into the soil or aerate it in, whatever machine you're using, to try to incorporate some of this into the soil, to the lawn. And like Ellen just said, you'll have pore space, it keeps it open. A lot of times the clay soils will get compacted, and then with no oxygen in that soil, you could get an algae scum to form in the absence of any oxygen in the soil. Then moss follows right in, moss grows on the algae. So if you have a mossy lawn, this helps. You know, if you have algae scum or that black, you'll see it's like a black scum that grows on that. And the moss grows on that. So this kind of thing holds that soil open. So roots, air, everything like that, you don't get algae growing on it. But that's typically of that. I'll tell you another thing we've been using this year, a lot of kelp, seaweed. For keeping the lawns from going into stress, we used a product called Algae Green, and it's kelp. It's not a granular, it's liquid. Boy, it smells like fish. The whole warehouse, when we bought the totes of that, started smelling like fish. And that kelp comes from Ireland, the product that we're buying. It's imported from Ireland. It comes in these really crazy looking jugs. If you get the jugs, they're European jug styles. You know, normally, United States, everything's kind of square or fancy. You'd look at that and go, where did you get that jug? That's a really weird, like a rounded jug. Yeah, that's the European style. But, man, that stuff kept these lawns from going into heat stress. We mixed it with the organics and the algae green together. And our lawns just glided right through the heat of the summer with no problem. Just works. It works. It's just being organic. And we're testing other products too, to try to see what works best to keep the lawns as tip-top shape as we can through this summer heat. Because I tell everybody, you know, everything we do from September 1st through the end of May is designed to try to get you through June, July, and August. With these this lawns in North Carolina, it just gets so hot. They get brown patch. We deal with all kinds of diseases are coming along. Anthracnose, just gray leaf spot, things you would never see before. So there's just a lot of weird pythium blight on tall fescue. I don't know if it's climate change or what it could be. Something like that is triggering some of these new maladies we see that you might not have seen 10 years ago. Some of these issues with lawns. Does anybody have any lawn care question?
I have a question. You mentioned pre-emergent earlier, and usually I'll put down some pre-emergent on my lawn in February, hoping to kind of get rid of some crabgrass and some clover.
Sure.
But the clover tends to stick around.
Right, the clover is perennial. You know, you're preventing crabgrass and a lot of other annual weeds with the pre-emergent. But you'll need a typical 3-way herbicide for lawns that will take the clover out. Might take a couple applications because clover's funny. It'll hide. There'll be really immature plants underneath that top. So you kill the top off, and then you've got the second round. They're going to grow up, and then you beat that one up, and then gotta get the third one probably. And that's why we do a program, it's a process of trying to get rid of clover. And again, some people like clover. They don't mind a few patches of clover here and there, it's good for your soil.
Have you seen more of that this year than ever before?
Clover?
Seems like.
Yeah, clover's been terrible this year. The worst thing that I'm seeing as far as weeds go is this stuff called kalinga, and it's like nutsedge.
Oh my God.
And it is terrible. Nutsedge is bad enough.
What
This
is it like a vine?
kalinga, no, it's like a nutsedge. It looks just like it. And it's just, if you know what nutsedge is, it's a glossy leaf and it'll grow about that high in a day. It's more upright.
Okay. Yeah, but it loves the water. I think it's taken off because of the water.
Oh, all the rain, yes. The kalinga and the nutsedge have been awful this year. But the vine, that sounds like buttonweed, Virginia buttonweed.
Got little leaves on it,
Like little kind of cute little, like miniature strawberry leaves or something.
Yeah.
It's a thin vines.
Okay, could it be wild strawberry?
Pretty wild strawberry. It really is strawberry, but it doesn't have any good fruit.
No, they taste
Just
terrible.
annoying.
I've eaten
It's
those. It's real sour.
Spreads like crazy.
Yeah, it does. And it just won't go away.
Yeah,
And-
you know, I've been pulling it up by hand.
Good.
That's my weed. I mean, that's the thing, I came here because I've been natural in that I haven't done anything. And so now I'm having all these weeds grow. And I've been pulling out by hand, but they're getting out of control.
A broadleaf weed killer will save you a lot of time, you know, because it's just impossible to pull every weed. But once you spray broadleaf weed killer, which won't kill your grass, it just kills like the big leaf things in there, the
Can you do
clover.
organic version?
There's no organic version of a broadleaf weed killer.
Unfortunately not.
But once you get it, you know, if you will get rid of those weeds initially and start an organic program at the same time, your grass will eventually get thicker and stronger, so it will outcompete the future weeds.
That's the
what you
key.
want.
Really, it is. Have a thick lawn won't allow weeds to encroach on it.
Right, and so to get your grass healthy, kill your broadleaf weeds, and then use a pre-emergent.
And use a
The
pre-emergent.
pre-emergents are mostly natural. I mean, like cream is 99.5% cornmeal, right? Ground corn cobs is what it is, right? And so, yes, there's a chemical in there that makes it last, because I mean, the ground corn gluten alone, those ground corn cobs alone will act as a pre-emergent, but only for about 3 weeks, which you know you don't want to keep applying it that often. So you put it down and you use the cream, and it makes it last for like 4 months or something, right? Until you start pulling weeds again and disturb the soil, and then more weed seeds come up. So, but if you start that program of killing off the broadleaves, do organic fertilizer on your lawn, put down pre-emergent in the spring, especially like that February, March time frame when all your spring weeds just flourish, right, and all start popping out of the ground. Eventually, you'll get a handle on your lawn, and it will be sustainable and healthy.
And I have another question about pre-emergent. If I have a lot of pea gravel paths, and again, I spend hours pulling the weeds out.
Pre-emergent, honey,
So
yeah.
you can put cream on those too?
Oh,
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
That's
yes,
the main
yes.
purpose for it. Something
Absolutely.
like that.
Absolutely. You can put, if you like moss, if you have a shady, moist area that moss is growing and you want to just create a mossy area, put cream on that. Because it won't hurt your moss one bit, and it will keep the other little weeds from coming up in your moss. Right? So, yeah, that works too.
Shade color.
I wanted you to tell us more about why organic lawn care is good for the whole environment as a whole, and what, because it takes a lot of carbon out of the air, right?
Absolutely. That's one of the things they talk about, things like ozone depletion and global warming and things like that. A lot of it has to do with carbon emissions and the atmosphere and us putting carbon into the atmosphere and polluting. And through doing this microbiology, doing this biologically, you're going to sequester a whole lot more carbon. You're going to grow plants, and you're going to take that carbon out of that atmosphere and store it in a plant. You know, they say you don't ever have to fertilize a forest, you know. It takes care of itself. It's all this breakdown and decay. You never have to fertilize a gigantic tree. It takes care of itself. Well, we can't do that in urban spaces or, you know, suburban spaces where we're trying to have a beautiful landscape. It's not a forest anymore. Now we're maintaining it. So the best thing you can do is to use the microorganisms and the microbiology and do it biologically to try to sequester more of the pollutant and to add more to your soil, to build your soil and build
All that carbon, that organic matter, the compost we're talking about is carbon. All those dried leaves, that's the carbon, you know, that is what goes into the ground that makes organic matter. So carbon is good when it's not in the air. It's good when it's in the ground, right? And so these microbes help take it out of the air and put it in the ground.
and
So they say that we would not have, if everybody went organic with their lawn care, because I mean, consider how many lawns and chemically grown crops we have miles and miles and miles of in this country, and how much carbon we could take out of the air, you know, to reduce pollution if we would just be organic.
especially
so,
in
you
farming.
can look up you can Google this stuff and read about it online because it's really fascinating. It's something that's never talked about, you know, because who wins with that, right? I mean, who makes money from that, right? It would hurt the chemical companies if we talk too much about organic lawn care, right?
They say lawns are carbon neutral because they do sequester. You should leave your clippings on the ground, you know, recycle them, don't bag them and pile them up somewhere because that could lead to a point source pollution. And just doing things that way is sustainable, is what they call it. Just doing things correctly and trying to use what Mother Nature's given us in the form of a living microorganism to help you get your fertilizer instead of going to a bag of 10-10-10 or, you know, something like Miracle Grow or some of these synthetic ones. You can do it all naturally. It's just kind of the way we should be doing it. But in agriculture, where they actually harvest the crop and then it's gone, then there's nothing there, and then there's nothing but dirt. Well, if they do more tilling in, leaving the scraps, so to speak, after they harvest, leaving that organic matter out on the field and till it in is good. A lot of people go no-till, because every time you till, you're disturbing the microorganisms, so a lot of farms are going to no-till. And then using cover crops over the top of that to always keep a plant there. You should always have something planted. It should never be like Ellen's backyard is right now. I'm sure she's planted on.
It's really going to kill me. I look at it like, I can hardly stand it, but you know, I have a lot more equipment that's coming in to re-drill my well, and to, you know, put in the pool.
You're coming up on seeding season, so you'll be able to.
Yeah, I'm trying to be patient. But I can use volunteers, people who want to come and stick those shrubs in the ground. I have a lot of places.
Well, that's about all I think I
Okay,
have.
so are we ready to do a drawing, Tommy?
Yeah, did you cut those things?
Okay, I have this, okay, who
Oh.
wants to do mine? All right, who's my guest here? You'll draw next. So what are we giving away first?
We're giving away a 2-10-20 fertilizer with organics.
Okay, we have Tommy to thank for this. He came in with these gifts for us, isn't that sweet? Okay, so pick a name here.
Okay,
Who's our winner?
and the winner, Carol Simpson.
Carol Simpson. There you go, Carol. Yay. All right. And is your next one the same thing, Tommy?
3 teaspoons to the gallon.
Well, I think pull another one, because I think.
Yeah, I got another one of
just
those.
like it.
Okay,
This is the
Alright.
PB1.
Susan Sanders. Hooray!
I already opened this up just to smell to get a whiff of it, but I haven't used it yet.
All
That's a
right.
good one.
And you
And then I have AMP. This is the one that, woo
Smells, okay. Don't open it in your house, that's all. Okay, here.
All right, here we go.
The AMP
Winner
XTC.
is Pat Bailey.
Oh, right, yeah, good.
You're gonna like this, it stinks, but it's worth on the other side. You gotta plant Give them some of that. Okay, that's what I have.
The other two, do they have to refrigerate, keep those refrigerated?
No,
No.
that is a formulation that they're using different types of microorganisms, I believe. They're not giving up their secrets. Stephen Lane, the guy who originally invented the original product, does get refrigerated. He even drinks the stuff when he's doing talks like this. Yeah, he'll show you it's a probiotic. It's yogurt for your lawn. And he'll do a swig of it to show you that because it tastes sort of like it's got that molasses in it. It's also got microorganisms. And they're really not for people.
But you know, there is a link, now it's been talked about now for a few years, the whole microbiome of, you know, all the organisms in our bodies. I mean, they say we are what, more than 80% of the cells in our body are not human cells. They're actually all these different bacteria and yeast and all kinds of different things that are absolutely necessary for life. So it's interesting because, you know, where did we get them in the first place? Well, surely we got them from our ancestors and our mom and everything. But, you know, how many, when I was growing up, my dad would pull up turnips and stuff out of the garden and we just eat them, you know? And so there's some stuff on there. We are investing in this stuff too. And it's probably kept us healthy, honestly, you know?
Get your hands dirty,
Yeah.
you know? You gotta do it.
I have a question. Could you tell us a little bit more about the three-way herbicide and when you apply it and what chemicals are in that? And
Sure. We use a lot of different ones, and there's reasons why we use them. The three-way herbicides, typically a 2,4-D, dicamba, and something like an MCPP. That's the stuff. That was like we'd be gone once you buy it at Home Depot, Lowe's. That's great, great. I mean, that's safe. It's basic. It stinks to high heaven. There's a lot of newer ones on the market now.
Weed Be Gone is a broadleaf weed killer.
Weed Be Gone is a broadleaf weed killer for your lawn. Available anywhere. Any hardware store will have Weed Be Gone. Home Depot, Lowe's, you name it. And it's just an all-purpose broadleaf weed killer. Now there's new ones, new technology coming out all the time. Those are that type of broadleaf weed control. It's hormonal and it kills the plant by causing it to grow itself to death. That's how those older ones work.
Like a 2,4-D?
2,4-D, you apply it to the plant begins to just grow itself to death.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll get all this distortion in it.
Yeah, it'll like if you're spraying wild onions, they get really elongated and fall over. Like
Yeah,
that. So
and
yeah,
all
that makes
twisted
sense. I didn't know
up.
that.
Well, that's an older technology. It's safe, it's great, it works. It takes repeat applications. And you don't want to put that out after, say, August, because if you're going to be seeding, it will hinder new grass seed germination. But like Syngenta, this company's invented some new technology that actually, the way it works is it inhibits photosynthesis in the plant and turns the plant white. They call them bleachers. It's a bleaching effect. The leaves turn solid white because the plant can't make chlorophyll. It inhibits these pigments from photosynthesis. So you'll see a lot of lawns now. If you drive around Greensboro, Summerfield, anywhere, you'll see these white patches in people's lawns. Well, they're trying to kill Bermuda, or they're killing crabgrass, and that works great on violets. It's called.
Yeah, that was the other thing. Well,
called-
violets.
It's
How
called
about
Tenacity, and it's a new product. It's a bleacher. It turns the weed white.
Does it kill Lespedeza?
Yes, that works on Lespedeza.
Where do you get that?
That would be Green Resource out by the farmer's market. They sell it. Also, there's a place called Site One. Used to be John Deere Landscape, and they're on Gallimore Dairy Road.
Anybody need pen and paper?
And they got Tenacity in these little 8-ounce bottles that you could buy, pretty inexpensive. And that product you can actually apply right before you seed, or you can seed and apply the product. and it has no effect on seed. So it's safer. It doesn't cause this crazy overgrowth or twisting and all this. It just turns it white and then kills it. So it starves the plant to death. The plant can't make chlorophyll. But that's a great product, very safe. And then there's a new one from BASF called Pylex. It's $400 for an 8-ounce bottle. But it's 4 ounces to the acre, so it's $200 an acre, so something like that. But yeah, Pylex is for killing Bermuda out of the fescue without hurting the fescue.
What's it called again?
Pylex, Pylex, and it's expensive. It takes like 4 applications of it every 2 weeks to kill the Bermuda. So I encourage people to keep their Bermuda. Bermuda grows great, unless you know, a lot of people say if you have Bermuda grass and you don't like it, you should move. Because you're not killing, you're not getting rid of it. It's like, we do Roundup kill-ups, so we don't use the Pylex anymore because it's just, it doesn't, because the next year it just comes back. I mean, it starts slowly coming back. The next year you'll kill 95% of it the first year.
Yeah.
That 5% that's left turns into 20%, then 40, then 60, then it's back.
If your lawn has a lot of the creeping Charlie, like it's really more creeping Charlie than lawn.
Tenacity?
Tenacity will do it.
Really?
Yes, it's good. That's good for that.
Is that safe for the wildlife?
Yeah, it is. Tenacity, especially it being just a carotenoid inhibitor, it only has effects on plants, and I'm sure its half-life is really short. It'll break down, degrade quickly. I mean, it doesn't have any effect on seed. So that tells me it's a very safe product. All of these products have been tested from done mammalian studies and stuff. And Val, when she worked, she's a chemist. She worked for Ciba-Geigy for a long time, working with rats. And they would put these pesticides in the rat. And, you know, I guess they'd sew them up and actually insert the chemical, and then sometimes, well, she was brilliant. She came up with a way, because the rats would always take the sutures out, where they were sewed back up after the stuff was put in. So, tie their legs together.
Oh God, too much information.
True story.
Okay, guys, if you have more questions, feel free to stay and talk to Tommy as long as you need to. And if you want to go look at the meadow, I don't know if you remember, but that meadow was pretty non-existent before, and you're welcome to come look around. You will need your mud shoes. But anyway, it's so great to see you guys again. We're going to get together next weekend. And starting Sunday, and then class Sunday and Tuesday. So if you were signing up for Thursday classes, this one's a Tuesday class because we're going to be at Rachel Reese's house, and that's when she can have us, is on Sunday and Tuesday. So we're going to be talking a lot about garden maintenance and about seed saving, which is, I'm doing a lot of that right now, actually, because if you were growing the special, wonderful black-eyed Susans that have the flowers this big and stuff, you might want to save the seeds from that, or celosia seed. This is the pink is the celosia, and they have a lot of different kinds out there in the meadow. But anyway, there's lots of opportunity to save seeds from your existing plants or from neighbors, right? And Rachel does a lot of that. She has always gardened on a shoestring, and her gardens are fabulous. So it's nice to see how you go about doing that and have a wonderful place. And as far as maintenance, I've already started pulling out my really ugly tomato plants, and I put in just, I don't have a lot of room in my little beds right now, because a lot of my flowers are in my raised beds, because I needed a holding place for them. But I pulled up some old tomato plants and my old squash plants that are, they're covered with squash bug eggs and everything, and they're looking awful. So you just get them out of the garden completely. And I seeded escarole and lettuce and arugula, and I planted sugar snap peas again. Because I found that they really pop out of the ground fast when the weather's warm like this. So, and I'm hoping my seed isn't too old, because a lot of the seeds that we save will keep for years and years. I mean, like really, some lettuce seed I've had that's 8 years old still comes right up. But the fat seeds, like corn and peas, they're big seeds, they only last a year or two. So, I don't know how old my sugar snap pea seeds are, because I didn't have garden much last year. So. Anyway, so you can stay in touch, Tommy. Please have some more cookies.
Thank you.
And they let us go out.
Very good.
Thanks.